Well, that's fine. Now we're going to do something a little different. We're going to stop this. And I am going to check your spelling. But, you know, you're going to go to the board and write the words that I tell you to spell. Okay? Now, papers. Papers. He sells papers. Now, broken. The dish is broken. Now, planted. He planted flowers. Planted. Yeah, boy. Hard.
What? Oh.
What? Hard rock. Like a hard rock. Minute.
When we think of children who can't learn in school, we usually regard them as either unintelligent, retarded, lazy, or else we think that they have severe emotional problems which are impeding their learning. There's actually another category of disturbances in learning beginning to be defined in laboratories around the world. One of those is the Montreal Children's Hospital Learning Clinic. This is the director, Dr. Sam Rabinovich. How is it possible to regard a child as intelligent who can't learn reading, writing, arithmetic, these basic things?
You know by psychological tests. You know by the way he talks with you. You know by the fact that he isn't like those children that you've come to know as mentally retarded or severely emotionally disturbed. We've seen children with extremely high IQs.
Like what?
145, which is very superior intelligence, less than 1% of the population, much less than 1% of the population would have an IQ that high. We've seen quite a few youngsters with IQs that high who have repeated grade 1 twice, sitting in grade 1 for the third time because they haven't been able to learn to read. And yet, you can sit with this youngster and have a conversation about very sophisticated, complicated things. It's completely natural and seems to be part of the nature of the human animal to want to learn. If you've watched young children or babies, they love learning. They have a tremendous desire to learn. But you can kill this with repeated failure.
Failure because they are unable to take in the information that's presented to them.
That's right. Failure because they can't get it organized. They can't make use of it. The child who knows what he would like to write down, but it always comes out wrong when he tries to write it, or even say it.
Jeff is 12. He's in grade 5, but he still reads at a grade 2 level. He can't take in everything that's said to him. People speak in chunks too large for him to understand. He can't remember things that he's heard over and over again.
Do you remember any nursery rhymes from when you were a little kid? Anything like Jack and Jill or Mary Had a Little Lamb?
Yes.
I'll start you off. Jack and Jill.
Jack and Jill went, I don't remember enough.
Went up the
hill
to
see,
to fetch
a
pail of
water.
Mm-hmm.
Jack.
Good enough.
Russ is 8. He's an intelligent boy, but he's had to repeat grade 1. If he can handle things with his hands, he can get the idea and he can learn. But ideas like the days of the week or telling time or the months of the year, he just can't hold on to.
Can you show me 20 past 1?
20 past 1.
I left the 1 in for you. All you have to do is figure out where the 20 past would be.
10.
Try it. We'll see how it looks. Okie doke. Now, what day comes before Friday?
Sunday? Wait. Sunday? I don't know.
See if you know what day comes before Tuesday.
Wednesday?
How do you pick what day it is?
I don't know.
You're just not sure.
Part of the difficulty has to do with the notion of intelligence itself. It's very unfortunate that people have gotten the notion that intelligence is one thing. Maybe psychologists and people like psychologists have contributed to this with this concept of the IQ. A child takes a test and the whole thing ends up with a number.
Yes.
Intelligent behavior is really the result of a whole lot of abilities. Functioning intelligently, which is just in a sense another way of saying learning, depends on having certain basic ability.
But when these come in school situation, they're translated almost immediately into reading, writing, and arithmetic.
Yeah, but again, you see, it's the same problem. You say reading as though it were one thing, but it isn't. You have to have that ability to tell differences in shapes before you can appreciate the alphabet. You have to be able to reliably and consistently and smoothly move your eyes from left to right, and then on to the next line and left to right.
Andy is a friendly, likable, intelligent boy of 8. His difficulties in school relate to his inability to control the movements of his eyes and to his confusion between left and right.
Now have a look at this pencil, see? This metal part, that's what I want you to look at,
Okay.
okay? And you keep looking at it no matter what I do,
Okay.
okay? Let's go. Atta boy. Now you keep looking at it. That's the way. What's happening?
I don't know. Something. Yeah, what are you doing?
Well, I'll tell you what I'm doing. I want to see if you can follow where that goes and follow it in a nice, smooth way.
I got him.
Yeah, but in a nice, smooth way. Because I think what happens when you follow this for a little while is that your eyes start jumping a little bit. Like it almost as though they're getting tired.
They go up and down?
They go up and down a little bit. So you're watching it, and then your eye jumps, and you're not watching it, and then you come back to it. And maybe that's why it's really easier for you to follow it with your whole head. Because then you just keep your eyes still and move your head. Then your eyes don't jump anymore when you do that.
Oh, that's nice.
Get the idea?
Yeah.
Okay, this time, I want you to try and hold your head still. Instead of moving your head
Oh, I can do
and
that.
not your eyes, this time, you try moving your eyes and not your head. Okay?
Do it.
All right. But then you've got to follow the pencil.
Okay.
This part of the pencil right there. Just keep following it. Don't let it get away from you. Don't let it get away from you. Keep your eye on it. Now let's do something else.
Right.
Just move back a little bit now. Right up, boy, right there. That's fine. Now you do what I tell you,
Okay.
right? Put your left hand high up in the air. Now that's your right one.
Oh.
That's the one. Okay, put it down. Now, left hand on your right ear. Good. Put it down. Right hand on your left eye. Good. Down it goes. Right hand high up in the air.
Right hand.
Yeah. Put it down. Left hand on your right shoulder.
Left hand.
Good. Down it goes. Left hand on your right eye.
Left.
Put it down.
When one thinks of a learning center or a learning clinic, one generally thinks of a kid who can't read. But reading then isn't the only thing.
Oh, no.
Could you enumerate briefly those areas where you find these problems?
Certainly a lot of them come because they can't read. A lot of them come because they can't write, which is just a shorthand way of saying they have physical coordination type problems that are seriously interfering. A lot of them come because they're kind of disorganized. They're bright, but sitting in class and learning requires being organized. Some of them come because they can't remember. They can read, but they study a lesson at home on Monday night, and they get to school on Tuesday morning and it's gone. When we evaluate a child, one of the things we try to do is find out not so much what he cannot do. This is fairly easy. Every friend and relative can tell you what your child cannot do. But what is much more difficult sometimes, but much more useful, is to find out under what conditions he can do. If he learns better using his eyes than his ears, then that's where we start. If he learns well using his body, that is with a lot of movement, but not when you restrict his movement and force him only to use his eyes, then we start working with him with a lot of movement. And I might say, now we're going to tap, we're going to knock on the table, or we're going to hold the blocks. And what I'm trying to do now is to combine his seeing with doing. And lo and behold, I finally find a set of conditions under which he does learn. Then I know what to do next. Then I know where to start working with him. See, just knowing what he can't do isn't enough.
And this is knowledge that as yet most teachers in schools do not have access to.
I think that's so. It may even be that most teachers don't even think this way.
These kids who can't learn, does a psychiatrist do them any good?
Certainly a psychiatrist could help him with his feelings. He could get him to the point where he doesn't feel quite so bad about himself. He doesn't feel that he's no good and worthless and stupid. But he goes back to the classroom and he still can't read. It's quite likely that pretty soon he's going to feel he's stupid again.
Because he can't read?
Because he still can't read. A lot of these children get emotionally upset about this. I would get more concerned if they didn't. To sit in the classroom month after month, sometimes year after year, to start out with a feeling that you're as smart as the next kid, but to be repeatedly faced with failure
in this one area.
Because of a deficit in one area, of course you get emotionally disturbed. You develop maybe negative attitudes. You might get very angry, and you might fight back. You might even become delinquent.
Mark's aggressiveness in school is a result of his frustration over his inability to learn. Did your teacher feel that you were stupid?
She knew my IQ. She didn't think I was stupid. But she just disliked me. I don't know why.
How was the schoolwork at that time?
I tried to do it, but just I was so angry I couldn't do most of the work. But I tried.
What was the worst time that you remember?
fighting with my teacher. I had a real big fight with her. And then another teacher came in, and I fought with him, which was a man. I had a chair to protect myself, so he told me to give him the chair, so I gave it to him. I threw it at him.
You threw it at him?
About a yard or so.
What did you think of your future then?
Well, I thought I wouldn't get very far because I want to go into the military services. And I didn't think I would get that far.
And then what would happen?
Then I wouldn't know what to do.
Well, what you're saying is that this isn't a thing that really starts with emotional disturbance, but with this disability.
Yeah. What I'm saying is that many of these children would not have this kind or this degree of upset if not for this learning difficulty and the frustration that comes with it. You know, it's bad enough to face failure. That's tough. It's even tougher when this takes place in an environment which doesn't understand you. It's tougher to deal with a failure when sometimes your own parents, instead of understanding the difficulty you're having, they blame you.
How do parents see the learning problems of their children?
Well, I think till you realize they have a problem, you really think they're being naughty children, and this is it, when they first start school particularly.
And I think lurking in the back of your mind all the time is that the child is mentally retarded.
When it came to the reading problem, did they tell you, practice, practice, practice?
Well, our child didn't have a reading problem. This is probably where he differs, you see. Ours was more of coordination physical.
Well, Gwen reads, and reads well now, but she doesn't understand what she's read. If you were to ask her a question after, she doesn't understand at all what she has read. And she took her exams orally because she can answer, but she can't write down what's on her mind.
Your child apparently did very well at the learning clinic, so well he's really no longer qualified to go there, you might say. What was his problem?
He seemed to primarily have a problem of motor control.
Sounds
He
familiar.
didn't coordinate very well. This expressed itself particularly in his handwriting. It was as poor as you can imagine.
I think maybe why the teacher doesn't understand, and sometimes why people in the community don't understand, is that your child hasn't got three heads, or he doesn't talk backwards or something like this. He, in many ways, most intents and purposes, he seems just like any other kid.
Well, I wonder whether one can find some encouragement from some sources to develop the learning clinic methods further, and above all spread its knowledge, so that some of the teachers and principals at school, as well as parents, although parents are really not qualified as professionals in that sense, but that they can, that they're in a position to see what the symptoms are, recognize it early enough, and try and do something sensibly about it rather than throttle it.
Why is it that these problems develop only in school? Can't you spot them earlier?
They can be spotted earlier, I think. They come to a head in school because the school system says you're 6 years old, start learning to read, start learning to write, start doing arithmetic. Now, before he goes to school, he's at home where the demands aren't so rigid. So he runs around a little bit more than the other children. So he doesn't catch a ball quite as well as the other children. So he mixes up his words a little bit. But he's young. He's growing. He'll grow out of it.
So this grow out of it business just is little dangerous.
Sometimes. In the past, it may be that there's been too free a use of this business of growing out of it. A lot of children do grow out of it. There are children that we have watched in kindergarten, and they're much better in grade 1, and nobody has interfered. And there are some who are much better by grade 2, but there's still a lot who aren't. And you see, when you see them and they're young, and you don't know which one will grow out of it and which one won't. You see, one thing we appreciate now, which we didn't appreciate nearly enough before, and that is that in the early stages of learning, in the stages of development, when a human is young, a lot of his thinking, a lot of his learning involves movement and activity. And it's almost muscular. It's almost as though a young child thinks with his muscles. The stuff out of which he reasons and thinks and figures things out is made up of things he does. Now, when he can't do these things well, when every time he does have to move around, it's clumsy and awkward and unpredictable and unreliable, then it's almost as though he can't think well, because this is the stuff out of which a young child's thinking is made.
So therefore he isn't able to accept these new challenges that are asking of him in the regions of reading and writing arithmetic.
That's right. He doesn't get the basic things that he needs, so that by the time he is confronted with reading and writing, he can deal with them.
Tommy is a bright boy of 5. In a few months, he'll be in grade 1. But already one can see within him clues which can lead one to believe that he will not do well in certain areas of learning.
Now, let's see if you can fold paper. Here's a piece of paper for you and a piece of paper for me. Now, wait a minute. Watch how I fold my paper. Look, I'm going to fold mine like this. See if you can do that.
Me.
Can you do it just like I did? Now watch. I'm going to do mine just like this. Can you fold yours that way? All right, I'll change mine. I'll do mine once like this and once like this. See if you can do that. Not bad at all. Come right over here. Now, can you hop on one foot? You come over here to me. Come over here to me. Pretty hard, eh?
Yeah.
Maybe if you try it on the other foot. You go back and try on the other foot and see if you can hop.
You do it.
Suppose if I hold your hand.
Yeah.
That's really very good. Can you skip?
Skip.
Do the skip. Skip with a skipping rope. Oh, you know how to do that. You want to show us how?
Yeah.
Turn around and do it again.
Okay.
Turn around to me and do it.
Okay.
Okie doke. You like to play ball?
Yeah.
Can you bounce the ball like that? Do it again like that?
No.
Try.
We got to do that.
Now, all these things are things you can do something with.
Oh, yes,
These are simply deficiencies that can be supplied with the proper kind of application.
exactly. We have to be able to figure out what are the conditions which, for this youngster, lead to successful learning. Part of that is what he can't do, what he cannot do. But the second and bigger part of it is to discover what he can do and what you have to structure, what you have to do to the learning situation to bring about this success.
Danny used to have trouble reading and spelling.
How are you doing in school this year, Danny? You're now in grade 5.
I'm doing fine. At home, before when I couldn't read, when I hardly could read, well, I'd get mad and start shooting things all over the floor. My father would get mad at me because he would tell me to read faster and I couldn't read any faster. So then, now that I can read, he tells me to read a little bit slower. And I say, why? Before you used to tell me to read a little bit faster.
Did you bring something for me?
Yes.
Danny has something. What is it?
Clipping.
Yeah. You always used to bring clippings in that interested you when you came to classes. What is it? Can you read it?
Mm-hmm. It's a joke. I understand that you've been going to a psychiatrist. Do you think it has helped you? Certainly it is. It has. Only a few weeks ago when the phone rang, I was deathly afraid to answer it. Now I go right ahead and answer it whether it rings or not.
Very good. You're really reading very well, Danny.
I've heard that 15% of all school children are affected with problems of this kind.
All the studies that I've seen make estimates anywhere between 10 and 40%. Certainly, in my experience, I would think 15% is a fair estimate. That 15 out of every 100 children in school may very well require, at some point in their schooling, some specific attention in order for them to get the best possible experience in school.